Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March 23rd, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I've been having a good morning so far. I feel like we're shifting into the afternoon officially for me. It's nice and bright. I will say it's a little colder than I like, but that's all right. I haven't really been outside yet. We'll test that air later. Let's see. Food corner for me. I had Domino's. Hooray for pizza day. Um, I had a pineapple and pepperoni pizza with barbecue sauce as a base. Gotta say, I just really love that pizza. Like, I really love just barbecue sauce in my joint, man. It just never disappoints. And then let's see here. The other pizza was the experimental one, I should say, I guess. I had mushroom and onion with just normal tomato sauce. It was good. It was definitely one of those where it kind of felt a little boring. But it was nice when I actually sauced it up, like put some hot sauce on there, put some olive oil on there, little dressing. So yeah, that was good. It was a nice little meal, as it often is. I just love pizza. I don't care. I don't care if it's bad pizza. Well, no, I do care if it's bad. I don't want it to be bad pizza. Like, you're not gonna catch me at a Casano's. That's right. It's a called out shot. I don't fuck with Casano's. Now you know that if you didn't know that. All right. Anyway, let me do my startup, and then we'll go ahead and get into some news. How about that? How's that sound for you? Hopefully good, because it's what I'm gonna do. You can't stop me. I mean, you could stop me by pressing the button, but I'm gonna say it. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that was a good one. Okay. From the Associated Press, police track down escaped Idaho prison gang member and accomplice. Say have pair may have killed two on run. Police on Thursday arrested two white supremacist gang members, an Idaho prison inmate, and an accomplice who helped him escape, following an attack on corrections officers at a Boise hospital, and investigators are looking into whether they killed two people while on the run. Skylar Mead, the escaped inmate, and Nicholas Umfinor, the men who police say shot two Idaho corrections officers early Wednesday to break Mead out of custody, were arrested after a brief car chase Thursday afternoon in Twin Falls, about 130 miles or 209 kilometers from the hospital. Authorities said that in a news conference that they were investigating two homicides in Clearwater County and Nez Perce County, which borders Washington State. Both victims are men, or were men, whatever. Police found shackles at the scene of one of the killings, and that's one of the ways we tied them together. Idaho State Police Lieutenant Colonel Sheldon Kelly said, which almost makes me wonder that I'm kind of thinking about this out loud. Was the goal of this whole moment, this motion, we're gonna get you out, bro? Because I guess they were homies, and also gang affiliated in prison. They were in the same institution. He Infinor got out first, whatever. But I wonder if the two killings or whatever were something of hey man, we're gonna get you out, you can get your revenge. Maybe we do get out of here and we get away clean, whatever, but we'll make sure that gets done. I don't know. I'm in speculation mode on that, but it's just so crazy that you get out of jail, you escape, right? You do this crazy breakout shit, and then you immediately go and kill two people, or these two people are killed in the process. I don't know. There's more details out there that I obviously don't have, but it definitely got me pondering. The Clearwater County Sheriff's Office said via Facebook that it received a request for a welfare check Wednesday evening, and deputies found a man who had died. The suspects were several hours out of the county when the call came in, according to the office. No further details were released. Meade, 31, was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2017 for shooting a sheriff sergeant during a high speed chase. Finor was released from the same prison, the Idaho Maximum Security Institution in Kuna, south of Boise, in January. The two had at times been housed together, were both members of the Aryan Knights prison gang, and had mutual friends in and out of prison. So yeah, there was no shots fired during the arrest. Let's see here. Which part did I want to read? The attack on the Idaho Department of Corrections officers came after 2 a.m. Wednesday in an ambulance bay in St. Alphonse Regional Medical Center as they were preparing to return Meade to the prison. He had been brought to the prison, or he'd been brought to the hospital earlier in the night because he injured himself, which I'm imagining that's part of like the plan. Officials said after the ambush, one officer shot by Finor was in critical but stable condition. Police said, while the second wounded officer had serious but non-life-threatening injuries. A third corrections officer also sustained non-life-threatening injuries when a responding police officer, mistakenly believing the shooter was still in the emergency room and seeing an armed person near the entrance, opened fire. So that's an oops-a-daisy. That sucks. I wonder how that feels. I was thinking about that. I was like reading this. Like, how do you feel in this super hyper-tense moment? Like you're trying to, subdue the suspects, whatever, you're trying to protect and do your shit. And the next thing you know, you get shot. And it's like, oh my fucking God, I'm like the good guy, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, do you say, do you walk that off? Like, do you file like lawsuit charges? I don't know what I'm curious about that, crazy fucking world and times we live in, I wanted to say no and I wanted to say yo at the same time. So I said something like that. Let's see here. See if there's anything else I wanted to pull. They talk about the Aryan Knights. Aryan Knights is a gang that formed in the mid-1990s in Idaho's prison system to organize criminal activity for a select group of white people in custody as well as outside prison walls, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Idaho. So yeah, I mean, they go into a little bit more fun facts. Meade was in a administrative segregation or ADSEG. He was deemed a severe security risk, which, I mean, confirmed. Apparently, yes, he was. Obviously, condolences to anyone involved, any loss of life and stuff like that, getting fucked up, that sucks, getting shot. You're literally just at a hospital, of all things. Getting shot at a hospital sounds really fucking dystopian and not fun. So, obviously bummer time for that. But from one shooting to another, let's go ahead and move along. From THV 11, Little Rock Airport director dies after shootout with federal agents. Everything we know so far. Earlier this week, Brian Malinowski, the executive director of Bill and Hillary Clinton National Airport in Little Rock, was injured during a shootout as federal agents served a search warrant at his home. Malinowski died days later at the age of 53. So, they go into a little bit of exposition there. Let's see here. Brian Malinowski was a 16-year employee at Clinton National Airport. He joined the Clinton National Management Team in 2008 as Director of Properties, Planning, and Development. In 2009, he was promoted to director. So, anyway, yada, yada, yada. He's kind of a big deal in this, little airport. I don't know why I said little. It's probably big. Whatever. Let's see here. According to the ATF New Orleans Field Division, the incident happened on Tuesday, March 19th, around 6 a.m., with the ATF agents arriving at Malinowski's home in Little Rock to serve a federal search warrant. As they were serving the warrant to Malinowski, he allegedly shot at the agents, striking one of them. That's when authorities said that a second agent then returned fire at Malinowski. The agent who was shot was taken to the hospital with not life-threatening injuries. Meanwhile, Malinowski was treated for his gunshot wounds by paramedics while at the scene and then taken to the hospital. He died days later on Thursday, March 21st at noon, according to Shane Carter, the director of public affairs and governmental relations of Clinton National Airport. So I was really trying. I didn't land on this article initially. I was initially just coming from Yahoo when it had happened, and they didn't have the warrant, and that was like really relevant to me because it's like, well, what was the reason? Like, why were they here, right? Like, why did they issue this? Essentially, the warrant was because he had like a lot of guns, and his family described him as a gun enthusiast. They say like that was his thing, but like you had over 100 guns, and you're essentially selling these guns to a potentially what is it? A seller of ill repute, I want to say. But essentially, Malinowski was accused by agents of selling guns without proper license, and it was alleged that he was doing so without completing the appropriate paperwork when making a sale. And I know that sounds very bureaucratic and tedious and lame and corny, like, whatever. Like, he sounds like, hey, he just has a lot of guns and he's just selling them. Like, whatever. It's this, it's that, you know. I'm sure maybe some of my homies would be like, that's not that big of a deal. It's pretty casual. But it isn't. Like, this is how you have those kind of situations where it's like, hey, how does a gun fall through the cracks and then anyone winds up being able just to get said gun? It's because you have this situation where a guy can just like buy a bunch of fucking guns legally and then say, hey, I want to be my own little arms dealer because I'm a little Lord of War. Yeah, that's who I am now. Even though really I'm just a fucking director at a goddamn airport. Like, this is my life. I'm actually Nick Cage in a fucking trench coat. Like, no, bro, you never were. And now these dudes are at your goddamn door with a fucking warrant. And I know I read through some of the comments and, looked around, and I can understand because I've had this conversation myself where it's like, hey, you could conduct these warrants in such a way that this doesn't happen. Like, you have all the information as the government. Like, this person could be potentially hostile. Like, shouldn't we go through all the potential precautions and make sure that we get this guy clean and safely? Maybe when he's not at home, maybe we get him at work or whatever. Like, I can understand, like, hey, like, why not do this? But at the same time, if, like, hey, the cops knock, they say, hey, we have a warrant, like, the writing's on the wall, dog. Like, you've seen Law and Order. You know how this goes. Dong, dong. And this man said, no, blam, blam. And it's like, that's illegal, dog. Like, that's not okay. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not here to defend cops. Y'all know that shit. But I'm also not the biggest pro-gun nut. I mean, hey, I get it, Guns are guns. I'm really tired of bemoaning that shit, episode after episode, shooting after shooting. Like, at this point, it is what it is. Like, I get it, whatever. But these are two of my, like, these, like, it's like an icky lasagna for me here. And it's like, I get, hey, like, we could have maybe had a better protocol, but also I get, hey, you don't respond to cops knocking with the fucking warrant saying, hey, I'm going to blow you guys away. I'm going to defend my fucking freedoms right here, right now. You can't go full Waco. You just don't do that. I mean, unless you want the fucking blowback because it's a goddamn government. They have more guns than you at the end of the day. They will win. Sorry. Like, I hate to say that. That's just the truth. Spoiler alert. He didn't make it. Fuck. Anyway. I did want to cover it just because I found this story interesting. I didn't want to let it get fully buried. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. We talked about this guy. Let's talk about some technology, a little Neuralink. From Business Insider, Neuralink reveals first human trial patient, a 29-year-old quadriplegic who says brain chip is not perfect but has changed his life. So I decided, hey, I don't want to talk about the Elon Musk, Don Lemon interview. I get it. It happened. It literally sounded so painful to listen to that shit, to see that shit with my own eyes. I like touched a clip, read some shit, and I moved on. I'm not really going to cover it personally. I personally think it's an L for Elon to have done it, and I get why he was so pouty post it. But then also, it's like Don Lemon is like kind of annoying. Like, let's just be fucking real. He's just kind of annoying. But he wasn't wrong on some of the shit, that, at least from what I saw. I know I'm a little bit aside before we even get into the meat. But, if you got an hour 45 minutes and you're super interested, by all means come to my DMs, talk to me about it. I would love to riff on it. But I would rather talk about this. I want to let this fall through the cracks. We talked about Neuralink before on the podcast, and you know, I'd heard people making jokes and rumoring, or it was just like, dude, either this person is not real or this person is a vegetable. And I was like, God damn, that's so cold blooded. But like, who is this guy? Where is he? Like, is he okay? Like, how is it working? And we finally at least have an update on it, and it's very tangible. So I really wanted to talk about it a little bit. Neuralink, Elon Musk neural technology company, revealed during a live stream on Wednesday that a 29-year-old man who was paralyzed after a driving accident is the first human to have received its brain chip implant. The patient, Nolan Arbaugh, said during the live stream on X, Musk's social media company, that the chip was not perfect, but it had already added many improvements to his life, such as giving him the ability to play video games for hours without having to rely on help from his family. It's not perfect, Arbaugh said. I would say we have run into some issues. I don't want people to think that this is the end of the journey. There's a lot of work to be done, but it already has changed my life. So I think that's really fucking cool. Like, and especially here, this guy, he had gotten to a really serious car accident. It fucked up his spinal cord. Essentially, I think he was like paralyzed from like the shoulders down, something to that effect. And like playing video games like chess, and he said he played Civ 6. He really wasn't able to do that easily. So this Neuralink was able to make it, like he says, it's kind of almost akin to like Star Wars, like Jedi, like mind trick force powers. And I was like, that's kind of cool. like don't get me wrong, RIP to all the fucking monkeys that probably died in the making of this Neuralink, even though according to Elon Musk, he says it was an absolute monkey paradise. I don't believe that personally, but I do think this technology is cool now that we're seeing that it actually works. It's not vapor fucking wear. You know, this is real shit, and like it's actually doing something for someone. And that's what he said. He said, hey, this is going to help people who are impaired. But obviously there's going to be more commercial uses for this shit. But don't get me wrong, I am never going to be on the fucking waiting list for some shit like this, especially if it's an Elon Musk product. Like, no way. You're not going to hack into my goddamn brain and, like, put some goddamn chip in my shit. No way. But it is very cool. It's cool to see. He did say that, you know, there are limitations. It does kind of have to suck, you know, in terms of, like, after, you know, hours of gaming and using it, you have to, you know, put it on charge or whatever. I'm sure that's something to be desired in the charge time. He said it took a little bit of getting used to, and, you know, wasn't initially intuitive, but I mean, obviously that makes sense. This is pretty, obviously, fucking fresh new technology. But still, I'll give it to him. I'll give it to Neuralink here. You know, very impressive, very cool technology. I'm interested to see what comes of it. But that being said, you know, just like we were talking yesterday with the whole pig situation, you know, with the pig parts. It's not for nothing, you know, there is ethics to this. There is, like, you know, there's something to be said and talked about in terms of, like, I don't think these monkeys, once again, lived in paradise. I think that they had to go through a very fucking hard life. And even though, you know, Elon Musk might have said they didn't die as a result of the Neuralink, it's like, that might have been a goddamn terrible slow death. Just for the sake of science, so that, you know, but so that someone could have a better life. So therefore it's hard, because now that once we get to the human part, a guy like me goes, I mean, this is fucking cool, I'm in, I think it's bravo, you know, I'm gonna clap my hands, I'm gonna oogle ogle at it. And I think there are other people that do that, but I also understand that there are people who are gonna always be appalled about it and say, no way is that worth it. You know what I mean? Apes together strong. You know the vibe. Anyway, we'll call that covered. Let's go on to our last beat. We got to talk government shit. But let me go ahead and take my last break, and then we'll get into it. Also, while I'm doing this, I'm going to shove in a bit of side news. Chuck Schumer, he did a little anti-Bibi Netanyahu speech or whatever. I mean, it was cool, I guess. I don't really feel like it did anything. Like, it's just one of those. You see the government doing this, where since we're gonna talk about the Israel Gaza thing, not really here because we're talking budget shit soon. But he was just like, um, I understand, why Israel's doing what they're doing, but I think Bibi is a big part of the problem. And what he's doing, like not caring about the death toll in Palestine, is going to wind up, biting Israel in the ass. Obviously, I'm highly paraphrasing here. But Chuck Schumer is apparently like, and I'm definitely paraphrasing this a bit, but they literally touted him out, and he touted himself out as like, I am like top Jew in Congress. And I was like, that's crazy to say, but I guess it's true. I'm sure you guys did the research before you said that. Like, he's the top leader, like political Congress leader in the Senate or whatever, that is Jewish. And I'm like, all right, go off, King, talk your shit. And it was a cool centrist take in a way, but it's also, once again, where it's just like, what's the red line that he was, kind of talking about here? That's saying like, hey, like, if Israel, if Bibi Netanyahu, if this like right wing government takes this shit too far, we are going to withhold support. And Biden has done this shit too. But it's like, when you press them on this, when you poke the bear in a post interview, they fold and they go, well, I don't really know what that is. We'd have to see what it is when we get there. And the truth is, we'll never get there. We'll always support Israel in whatever they fucking do. And I think that's very fucking problematic, because Bibi Netanyahu is literally saying, hey, I've approved this plan to go into Rafah. We got to get these battalions. We got to do this shit. It's the only way we'll win. Yeah, we can't do anything less. Anything less is anti-Semitic, okay? So, like, let us just go off. Let us cook. And, America's trying to take the stance of, like, hey, we don't like this. It's bad. We're not supporting. They're even trying to do a little tomato. But it's sliced tomatoes, and they're not throwing anything. They're just bullshitting. And the same thing is happening in the UN. I really didn't want to cover that for the week either. So once again, we're just lumping in this little side news. I'm just doing this shit. I'm just cooking a little bit before I actually touch. But yeah, that's the state of things politically and Congress and that. But let me take my break, and then we'll talk budget. Ooh. From Politico, Senate sends $1.2 trillion funding package to Biden, thwarting partial shutdown. Hooray, we did it again. A colossal $1.2 trillion spending package is finally off to President Joe Biden, his desk, with Congress concluding a tumultuous government funding cycle and skirting a shutdown after midnight. They took all goddamn week to do this shit, because I wanted to report on this shit sooner, but they just took for fucking ever, as they are wont to do. I don't think we have to do this shit, though, till October 1st, but the annoying thing is we have to do this shit again before the election, which is very annoying. I don't really love talking about this shit. It's blah. And it's annoying, too, because the thing I do like talking about, though, is that when you pull the shit out from a bird's eye and you really look at it, this is the only time these motherfuckers ever get to fucking work for us. They don't do anything in between. They waste so much fucking time. And literally, Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't literally, like, she misses no beats. She's like, hey, oh, by the way, I want to, like, do a little thing so that we talk about Mike Johnson. So that's going to be a thing when they get back from their 2-week vacation or whatever. He potentially might, get McCarthy'd again, essentially. But I don't think he will. It definitely seems that the whole McCarthy, oh, that's the resources talking. The whole McCarthy ouster, the old young gun, that happened because they just didn't like his ass, and they literally got a no-name guy named Mike Johnson. Oh my gosh. I want to say some things that I don't, because I'm just going to be mean. It's not worth it. But anyway, they got old fucking Mike Johnson. He's not that old, actually. He's built different, though. um, and now he's in power. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is essentially just trying to make waves for attention. I don't think they're gonna like move to oust him like they did McCarthy. Is what I'm trying to say here. I shouldn't go full riff. There are things that got mentioned and talk about. Before final passage, the Senate defeated amendments that would block the release of special immigrant visas, bar the Biden administration from waiving sanctions on Iran, and force DHS to detain immigrants accused of crimes like shoplifting. The Senate also rejected an amendment that would cut off federal funding for schools that allowed transgender students to play on women's sports teams, as well as proposal to bar immigrants accused of assaulting a law enforcement officer from becoming a legal U.S. resident or citizens. So yeah, I mean, those are things that got batted off, I guess, by both sides. What else did I want to pull here? Republicans lauded spending bumps for the Pentagon and DHS, including funding for immigration and customs enforcement to hold 42,000 people in detention at one time and for 22,000 Border Patrol agents. Yeah, they were literally like, yeah, we got more beds for ICE. It's like, congratulations, dog. Like, that's so cool. Democrats touted increased funding for schools serving low-income students, Head Start and childcare, along with boosts for research on cancer and Alzheimer's. So yeah, I mean, cool. That got done. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. House Republicans will be under growing pressure to take up the Senate passed foreign aid funding package, for example, and Johnson may have to defend his speakership after Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a motion to strip him of his gavel on Friday. Once again, I don't think that's going to actually go anywhere. She just wanted to do that for eyeballs on her. You know, go off, girl boss. Do your fucking thing. Whatever. These motherfuckers literally do nothing for us. They literally waste our time and just try to suck up lobby money like they're goddamn Kirby babies. Fucking useless. But, you know, whatever. It's a day in the life, y'all. And, you know, I'm done bemoaning. I'm done whining. If you'd like to help out the episode, if you'd like to help out me, whatever, you know, show your love financially, patreon.com/Isaiah News. You can support the effort that way, become a newsie that way today. I shout you out top of the month, plug a project if you'd like. Free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. So that's a thing you can do. And hopefully you're subscribed to the YouTube. I'm seeing some more subs. I thank you so much for that. Thank you guys so much for checking it out and sticking around. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself, getting comfy, settled in. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.